Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Ailey and today's video is another installment of my beginner series. Today we're going to do a half cut crease and it is the look that I'm wearing just now, so if you want to see how to do it then just keep watching and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I think that's pretty much it, so let's just crack on with the video. Okay, so to get started, the same as all of my other beginner series, we're going to prime. And I'm going to use my MAC Painterly Paint Pot and just prime my eyelids. And I'm going to prime right from my lash line right up to my brow bone. And then I'm just going to set that primer with a translucent powder and a fluffy blending brush. Like always, I'm going to grab Silk Cream from the Jaclyn Hill palette and I'm going to pop that at the top of my upper lid, just to kind of give me that guide. Really, a cut crease or a half cut crease always starts out very like a smoky eye. You kind of need to do all your crease work first and then you can cut it. I mean, there are other ways to do it, but they're much more difficult, and I actually personally don't think that they look as nice, or they take an awful lot more work to look as nice and blended. So then I'm going to go into the shade Hunts from the same palette and I'm going to pick that up on my R38 brush and I'm just going to pop that above my crease. If you haven't seen my other beginners series tutorials, I would recommend that you go and watch them now. I'll link one of them up there for you. They are all in my tutorials playlist, but it does sort of give you an idea of the basic techniques to get to this stage, because if you know how to do all of the other looks then it's much easier to be able to then do this one. I'm pulling that down on the outer corner onto my eyelid. Because it's a half cut crease, I'm going to want the shade on my eyelid down here as well. I'm just fading that in towards my nose. If you want a really sharp line, a good trick is to get like a piece of card, or you can use tape, but tape, I find it, if you've done like your other makeup, it will ruin it, or I don't really like peeling it off either. So I find a bit of card is really good as well, and I like the card with the shade names on it from this palette. I find it's dead handy. And then it just leaves you with a really nice sharp line. This is a good trick for hooded eyes as well, if you want to fake that winged eyeliner look. The outside of the lid isn't massively important just now because you can come back and finish that at a later stage. But I'm just going to catch up with my other eye and I'll be right back. For some reason I'm feeling a little bit of a sunset-y vibe with this. I'm going to go into the shade Creamsicle, just with the same brush, and lightly kind of blend that over the edges. Okay, so now it's time for the slightly tricky part. Take a concealer of your choice. It doesn't really matter what kind. You want one that doesn't kind of bunch up or crease or anything like that, because obviously it is going to be on a mobile part of your eyelid and you don't want things like that to happen. So a good quality concealer. I'm using Tarte Shape Tape and I've just got the shade Light Sand. I'm taking that on my Morphe M224 brush. This is the same brush I use for applying my base and stuff like that, so I just find it's an easy one to use. I like the shape of it because it's quite rounded. And what I do is I will place this on my lash line and then I'll look up. And then that gives you a guideline of where your cut crease needs to come up to, at least, so that you can actually see it. And then just use this line as a guide and mark out where you want your cut crease to be with the concealer. You can go really slow at this. It doesn't really have to be a race or anything, because it is quite difficult to get that line nice and crisp. And then what I do if I want to pull the line up further is I just go in stages and just tap the tip of my brush. I would say that if you're using a concealer for this, a runnier one is better. Not really runny, but runny enough so that it's not going to be like really draggy on the skin. Okay, so that is what I've got going on just now, and before it like fully dries down, I don't really think Shape Tape properly dries down, but just while it's still sticky, I'm going to go in with the shade that I'm going to put on that part of my lid. I mean, you could put on a neutral shade, you could put on a colourful shade, really it doesn't matter. And then I would recommend, wow, ooh, I'd recommend stamping it on. Don't swipe it, because one, the shade may go everywhere, and two, it just kind of makes a mess. It's easier to sort of stamp it on, and that way you can get your edges really nice and clean as well. And then when I get to the edge, I just sort of feather it out a little bit. I'll blend that with the other shade as well, but if you can blend it a little bit, it does help. And just make sure that you go back and make sure that all of the concealer's covered up, because you don't want that sort of fair line. You want it to be a nice kind of crisp transition from the blue to the, or from the lid shade to whatever it is that you've used in your crease. Tricky part probably is trying to match them, so you know, you don't want one to be really high and the other one to be really low. That's just a total nightmare. But you can get away with a little bit of variation. They're a little bit like eyebrows. They don't have to be exactly right. Okay, so then we have to go in and blend out this edge in here. So I'm just taking a Real Techniques base shadow brush, and I'm taking more of the shade Hunts and just filling in all the bits in here. And if you want to intensify it a little bit, you can take a darker shadow. So I'm just going to dip into Jack's, and I'm just going to pop that in this outer corner here. I'm just going to grab this pencil brush and go back into Hunts and really tap it off, and I just want to try and blend these edges. Just find that a smaller brush makes life a little bit easier. If you want, what you can do is go into a slightly lighter colour, and that'll help the blend. Okay, so now we can jump on the lower lash line. I'm just going to grab a little bit of Hunts, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of Creamsicle and blend that out a little bit. And then I'll grab Jack's on this tiny little elf brush and just press that right into the lash line. You can add a winged liner if you can, or if you want to, but I don't really have that much lid space anyway, and like I've said in previous videos, my eyes are really hooded, so I think that it would just kind of look weird with the look, and it would maybe kind of overpower it a little bit. But what I am going to do is add a brown liner to my waterline. And then I'm just going to stick on some falsies really quickly. You can obviously see the lash band ends here, so to disguise that, I'm going to take a little bit of gel liner and a tiny little brush, and I'm just going to continue the line. Okay, so that is us pretty much done. As I said, you could add a winged liner if you wanted to. You don't have to add falsies, but I actually think a look like this looks really nice with falsies. I think that the falsies just give it a little bit of something extra. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So that is how you create a half-cut crease. Obviously there are other ways to do this. This is just the way that I find is the easiest, and it's the easiest to do with hooded eyes as well. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So if you enjoyed this video, I would love if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I do post videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so hopefully I will see you soon. Bye!